Itchy got laid. Oh, my boy got the, anybody seen American Pie? He got the flute treatment. He got the flute treatment. I was shocked. I said many times, I don't think Itchy has a romantic bone in his body. It's not even a concern. The pursuit of the carnal pleasures doesn't seem to register on his radar. But I will say, when the opportunity arises, my boy steps up to the challenge. He steps up to the plate and he delivers. Yeah, he swings for home. It's a home run. It's a home run. I was really shocked that this happened. We did a number of other things, but there's been a whole side quest thing happening with the lady at school who just works behind the counter. And the lovesick puppy dog, is he Ikari, I think he's called, who also, like, hangs around the school to get certificates. He's getting all the certificates, but he's unemployable. He's just a major, just wet blanket. He falls to his knees. He simps so hard over everything. He begs and pleads. When he finds out you're the president of Ichiban Holdings, he, like, hits the deck. He's like, please employ me, please. And you do get him as a potential employee for the business. No, that's not happening. But after that happened, I got the prod. I got the prod, which was like, you should talk to the girl behind reception, who he is in love with, madly in love with. It's one of the reasons he hangs around the school, or the primary reason, I should say. And she's like, she likes lilies. You should get her a bouquet of lilies. And you can do that in a couple of ways. You can go buy them, but they're very expensive, relatively speaking, like 25 grand a bouquet. Or you can grow them. So I obviously opted to grow them, and you can grow them and then take it to the club, and the guy will turn them into bouquet for you and take them back. So I did that, and then she goes, oh, they're lovely. And you talk to her again, and you're like fumbling over your words a little bit. And I'm like, why? What is happening here? And he's like, I should get a 5 bouquet of lilies to decorate her apartment. And you're like, what? Okay, I guess. It's Yakuza, whatever. So, yesterday afternoon, I was like, you know what? We're going to do the lily things. I've been growing them steadily. I haven't exactly taken great care of having lots of, like, fertilizer on me and stuff like that. So I was kind of home growing them, which takes a long time. It takes like 20 minutes or something like that. You don't really wait for it, so you go and do a bunch of other stuff. So you might come back a few hours later, and you won't get enough to make like multiple bouquets. You need like 12 lilies, and DIY growing gets you like 5, maybe 6 sometimes. So it's taking a while, but ultimately I like collected enough for 5 bouquets. I was like, all right, we can go and turn this in. So I did that. And I'm going to get the order slightly wrong here, because the next one, obviously... Now, I know what the order is now. So I gave her the 5 bouquets of lilies, and I'm like, nothing happened. I was like, she's going to ask for 10 bouquets of lilies, right? It's gone 1, 5, it's going to be 10. But that's not what happened. Ichi then says, I can't speak to her because I am not a mastermind, which is the absolute cap of the intelligence stat that you can raise throughout the game. I don't even think I brought this up in the TDP, but on top of all the other layers of the onion, you have personality traits that you can level. You got like style, confidence, intelligence, all these kind of things. Passion, all these. And I've been slowly leveling them up as we play through the game. I got a ton of it from doing all the school stuff. So I was like level 9 intelligence of 10. The 10 is the cap in each category. And so I was like, she won't speak to me unless I'm a mastermind. I don't think she's the teacher or the professor. She's the desk clerk. I'm not downplaying that she might be a genius or anything like that, but it feels a little odd that I need to be an absolute mastermind to be able to communicate with her. But whatever, that's what the game requests. So I was like, okay, well, I guess we can't do that till later. And then I recalled that over the course of the game, I had picked up a number of like various skill books. Most of them were to enhance job level. So I had to flick through them, and sure enough, I had some for intelligence and style and passion and things like that. I was like, oh, well, I have these books. I also had stuff that was like raw HP upgrades, raw stat upgrades, things like that. So I was like, I might as well use these books. So I sent the books, and let me just turn off. And then I reached Mastermind because I was very close to it. So reading the book got me to Mastermind. I was like, okay, we'll go back. So I went back, spoke to her, and sure enough, it's then you need 10 bouquet of lilies. I'm like, are you joking me? I need to be a mastermind, and now I need to get her so many flowers I could open a flower shop. And I was like, I'm not growing these. I've had enough. We're going to be doing business soon to raise a lot of cash. Screw it. I just went to the flower stall, which exists in the park, where you can buy bouquets of lilies for the 25 grand. And so I spent 250,000 yen on bouquets of lilies. Because I was like, at this point, I just need to see where this goes. The requirements for this side quest are so absurd. You have to be fully capped intelligence. You have to have gotten now 16 bouquets of lilies. So I went back, turned them in, and she just bangs you. It was so weird. It was so weird. I was like, what is happening here? She's like, oh, come with me, and takes you to a classroom. And I was like, I think this is happening. And she just like falls. She puts her head next to your waistband. I was like, she's going to blow him. And I'm like, this is awesome. This is like every guy's dream for the most part. I'm generalizing, but for the most part, yeah, if your girl is like, you know what? You deserve a blow. We're getting to town. There's not many dudes who are like, nah, that's not gonna happen. We were like, whoa, yes, dude, we're full send. And it happened. I was like, that's so. And she's like, well, you better come back later. And I'm like, all right, yeah, we'll come back later. Like, I don't know where this came from, but sure. What a weird side quest. And now we know that she can have romantic entanglements of some kind, although it was just seemingly animalistic, is what I would say. It was like, let's go. Let's do this. You've got like all these bouquets of lilies and you're a genius. I'm in. So we'll see where that plays out. The next thing I did, though, was I have to thank my live audience for this, because I never would have discovered it without Googling. And I feel like they could have done a better prompt for this. This is one of those things where people who did it, I think, either accidentally or because they wanted to experiment in a different way than I would, discovered this. So I went to the dungeon once in the past, and I left because I couldn't open the golden chests, and there were barriers everywhere that I couldn't open. So I was like, okay, well, that's going to be something that's an addition to our arsenal at some point, and then we'll come back, because it's pointless doing the dungeon if we're missing out on a bunch of the rewards, right? It's just a waste of time. But one thing I remember is, like, I was already kind of reasonably leveled for it, so I was like, that's weird. And then we bumped into a bunch of golden chests, and then someone was like, I've had enough. I've had enough. And went, you've already gone past the golden key, like, several times. And I was like, have I? Because I check my corners. I've got a lot of my crests. There's always things we miss in big games like this, but still. So I was like, have I? And everyone was like, yes, you have. I was like, huh. So then I started to like try to analyze it, right? And my analytic brain is like, okay, if we've walked past it, what does that mean? Either it's in the dungeon itself and I missed it, which is very possible, or it's in the overworld and it's just lying around. Because I was obviously basing things off the silver key that you get, which is just a side story. And I've done all the side stories. There's none available to us on the map at the moment. There will be more, obviously. So I was like, okay, let's think about this. So I said, let's play yes or no. Because then people are like, you're never going to discover how you get it. It's actually a bit obscure. And then a few other people were like, I just had to Google it because I couldn't remember how I did it. And yeah, you're not going to get this. So I was like, all right. So I went, is it in the dungeon? And they were like, no. I was like, so it's in the overworld? And the answer I got was kind of. I'm like, okay. How would that work? You know, the video game mechanics brain kicks in. And then I was like, okay, so there must be then something in the overworld, maybe the barriers that actually exist in the overworld, something like that. And then people were like, warm. They decided playing hot or cold me. It's like, warm. There is something like that. I'm like, all right then. So I look at the map, and there is a corridor near your original Jizz apartment with Hanaki. That is the red marker to block you from moving on is not quite where the map ends. Like there's an extension to the road. Usually the red X that says you can't progress past this, like the world boundaries, are right at the edge of where you can see the map. That one wasn't. So I was like, let's go and see if there's a barrier at the end of there. And that's like preventing me from getting something. Because like if I see a barrier, you've got to break through a barrier somehow, then the golden key is there. I was like, okay. So I run down this alleyway. Sure enough, there's no barrier. And people were like, you're really hot, steaming hot. And I'm like, am I? And then they were calling me blind, obviously. So I'm looking around. And I'm like, there's nothing here. The only thing that was remotely different to me was a door that was like boarded up with like hazard tape, like police line tape. I was like, that's slightly unusual, but there's no interaction with the character, right? Like, it's just scenery as far as I can tell. So I was like, okay. That was the only thing I noticed. So I was looking at everything else at the time. I wasn't like, that's it. I wasn't thinking that. I was like, that's different, but like, there's nothing else here. And they're like, yeah. Think about it. If you wanted to break through that, how would you do that? So I was like, oh, okay. Probably from what I've seen, it would be the foreman job because that has the big sledgehammer. So I was like, I have a foreman. Adachi, I made a foreman. So I swapped Adachi into the party and nothing happened. So I was like, maybe I need to be a foreman. So I was like, okay, maybe it's that. And then I ran to the job center. And sure enough, that is what it is. And obviously the immediate feedback I got of some people was like, imagine trying all the specs. So I was like, I did. I didn't want to be a foreman, but I have a foreman. Like, I've made Adachi a foreman. And it's really funny is the second you spec into it, and it's the only job in the game that works this way, is that the second you go like, I want to change my job to foreman, it goes, you have unlocked demolish. You can now demolish barriers in the open world and in the dungeon. And I'm like, what? And when I say they could have done with a prompt here, I think there's just a slight misstep is like, if you see that, is like, if only I had some way of opening this door. And then it puts you on the track. Because there's nothing in the game that points to you as like, you need to spec Itchy into being a foreman for this to work. It's a one-off thing. It's not linked to anything else. None of the other jobs work that way. You could try every other job in the game besides foreman and not find this. You could spec the rest of your party into all foremen, and that won't do anything. A little prompt at these doors saying, if only I had the tools to break this door. You know, something like that just to point you to like, oh, yeah, maybe you've done this. Because I did try foreman out. I was like I say, Adachi is my foreman. I have one of these guys. So why? And I've seen how it works. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to do this, and I made him my foreman. So it's not like I ignored job changes. We've done quite a few. So anyway, that did that. So it was time to do the dungeon. The dungeon is the biggest miss in the game for me, like, compared to the stellar quality of absolutely everything else, including the writing, which is now getting so good, like, even better than I thought before. Now we've progressed. I'll talk about MSQ in a different video, but we've progressed to the point where we're now meeting the young master. Very excited to see how that goes. But I did clear the dungeon. I could destroy the barriers. I got a bunch of stuff. The biggest plus, my negatives are it's one environment that goes on way too long with one continuous soundtrack that's not the best at all. They don't even change the music for boss fights. It just continuously just loops over and over again. The fights aren't particularly interesting. The loot's not great, at least so far. Like, the loot I came out with was like, it's a lot of base weapons, couple of upgrade pieces here and there, but ultimately it's like a very long time to get not a lot. Like, the dungeons I think are a bit of a miss. The positives are you occasionally get these vagabond enemies. They're a little unique. They don't take damage in the normal way. It's about amount of hits, not how hard you hit. But I have Hongji in the team whose guns do like 12 shots, and he was just destroying them. Like, I think he one-clapped one of them at some point. Absolutely just wrecked them. So... And they give a ludicrous amount of job experience. So clearly the dungeon is a way of hyper-speed leveling your jobs and getting all the levels and unlocking all the skills and things like that. So I get their purpose. I think they could have... What's strange is the final boss is the giant Roomba that we fought in the streets last time. That fight has some of the sickest boss music, and they didn't even include that. Which is really odd. I was like, you already have these tools and things for this enemy. You're just not using it for some reason. But clearing the dungeon was fine. I was over leveled for it, so it wasn't even a challenge to do. Just kind of like mow through the enemies and just get the rewards and move on out. But I'm glad I did it. I unlocked the golden key vendor. You just buy the keys. Okay. Very different. This feels like a something that was added on at the end. right? The whole system with the golden chests and the dungeons was kind of added on as a way of power leveling jobs and things like that and grinding sort of end game gear. That's what it feels like. It feels like it didn't get the care and attention that everything else got. It was like, okay, and then we'll put this in so they can just grind stuff out if they want to. So I can somewhat forgive it, but I do think given the absolute delicacy that is taken with everything else in the game, it feels like a separate thing. You're like, oh, yeah, this is kind of a grim experience compared to just doing anything else in the game. So we'll see if there's more of them. I can see if there are, it'd be like a one-time deal, like clear the dungeon, get out of there. Or maybe the next dungeons are much better if they do more. I don't know. But as it's progressing, it's all about MSQ at the moment. There are still wonderful side stories. We have tie-ups with Megumi, the little donation girl. It cost me 1 million yen. I'm broke. I am absolutely broke. So money is the next step. We're going to need like 50 million yen. I want enough money in my bank that we never think about money again. We also have some really crazy choices to make with employees. I've unlocked a ton of potential employees. My recruitment roster is going to be huge to see how that plays out. But we need to go and make some big stacks of cash. That needs to happen. So I'm probably going to do that on Friday, especially because those of you living in the UK, certainly in the north right now, it is disgustingly hot. It's going to be 30, 35 in this room today. So if you're tuning in on Friday when this is happening, but drama time is going to be just a fiesta because that's in like 7 hours and it's going to be awful. So look forward to that. Other than that, I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.